I still miss him sometimes. I miss those late nights, watching horror flicks and eating candy till our stomachs began to ache. I miss faking being sick so we could play video games instead of going to school. I miss our mom seeing right through it and forcing us to go anyway. I miss riding our bikes up trails and stealing soda from the local 7-Eleven. I miss my brother. I miss Jeffrey Woods. Even after what he became. I remember when we moved to BrookBend, Indiana. It was August 6th, 2008. I was 14 and Jeff was 17. Our parents wanted a quieter life, and nowhere fit that place better than BrookBend, Indiana. Every house looked identical, either painted gray or navy blue, with the same stupid white "welcome" sign at every front door. The whole community sat in a bowl of forests, cornfields, and trapped under a constant gray haze. My dad got a job at the straw mill, a job that the majority of the town either had or benefited from. There wasn't much to do, besides hang out at the dying mall or graffiti the defunct mental institution at the edge of town. BrookBend was the kind of place that GPS would gaslight you into thinking wasn't real. BrookBend? Did you mean South Bend? Brownsburg? But after a long while, you'd finally find it. BrookBend, Indiana. Home of the paper straw. Population 400. On our second day of moving, our neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Prescott, had come by with muffins. It seemed like a nice welcome to the neighborhood gift. However, after taking a bite out of one of those dry muffins, I couldn't tell if this was a kind gesture or a plot to kill us. "Hey, Liu," my mom spoke, having noticed me already helping myself to the revolting treat. "How about you and Jeff visit the mall today? Get away from this dusty house." She made it seem like a favor to us, but in retrospect, she was really trying to do herself a favor. This was her introduction to some of the neighbors, and she didn't want sweaty teenage boys ruining first impressions. Still, being the perfect son that I was, I got ready to leave. "Jeff!" I yelled up the stairs, still covered in random boxes and knickknacks. "What?" he yelled back from his room. "Mom wants us to go to the mall." "Why?" "I don't know." I was interrupted by my mother giving me the look. The look that screamed, "You're lucky the neighbors are here, or I would beat your ass." Apparently us screaming back and forth wasn't a great first impression. Jeff made his way down the stairs, wearing his Converse, ripped jeans, and thrifted dark night t-shirt. He was lucky Mom was busy, or else he'd get an earful for wearing his shoes inside. He hopped down the last stair before speaking. "We have guests, don't we?" "Yep," I responded. He rolled his eyes at that comment. He hated everything about moving. He hated the town, hated how our mom and my father acted, and most of all, he hated the neighbors. This wasn't just me guessing. This was the topic of every single conversation we had since the move. We made our way out the door, the Prescotts giving Jeff a few quick glances before returning to their conversation. Jeff had suffered from albinism, a condition that caused a lack of pigment in his skin and hair, aka super white guy. It was as if his skin had forgotten to be alive. His slim stature didn't help his appearance, neither did his thick, long hair that he had dyed black during his emo phase, something that I refused to let him live down. He only kept it black since it helped cover up his condition. Back in California, he was rarely picked on for his looks. It was an area where everyone expressed themselves, and Jeff was just another weirdo among the weird. However, In small-town Indiana, everyone's gaze turned immediately towards Jeff. This proved especially true once we reached the mall. The illuminated sign outside read, Mall of BrookBend. However, the M had lost power, so it really read, All of BrookBend. Not far from the truth, if you ask me. Every store we went into, Jeff got strange looks. He made it seem like it didn't bother him, but every now and then, I'd catch him looking at his reflection in the glass. Jaws tight, knuckles white. After 40 minutes of large, barren stores, Jeff finally let out. This mall is shit. It's not that bad. It was pretty bad. The only thing that kept me going was the smell of cinnamon pretzels filling the void. I swear they were pumping that smell through the vents. The only food we could find was the Sbarro and a closed-down Chick-fil-A on a Friday night. Not that bad? He gestured at the closed store in front of us. Old Lady. What the fuck is Old Lady? They couldn't even get Old Navy. I laughed. Come on. I'm sure there's like a hot topic or something for you, emo boy. Old Lady. That's all I'm saying. We walked away empty-handed, probably for the best since we were both broke, and sat on a concrete bench outside the mall. Jeff put one of his cigarettes between his lips and lit a match, cupping the cigarette as he lit it. I wish you wouldn't do that. Smoke? Yeah, we had a PSA at school last year about how many people die from that. Your teeth are gonna get moldy and your lungs will get black. Jeff gave me a faint smile. Sounds like great reasons for you not to smoke. I prefer if you didn't either. Jeff shot me an empathetic look and took the cigarette out of his mouth, nicotine smoke blowing in my face as he did. How about this? If you can guess how many cigarettes I have left in my pack, this will be my last cigarette. Really? I scoffed, not believing him for a second. Jeff was always a great liar. I'll even give you my matchbook. Deal. We shook hands as if completing a business transaction. I took a few seconds, trying to remember how many cigarettes I had seen Jeff smoke since he had last got that pack. Come on, Liu. Guess. I'm getting bored. I blurted out the first number that came to mind. 22. Jeff's eyes widened. Damn it. Right on the money. He made a defeated expression and stomped out the rest of his current cigarette. What can I say? Math is my best subject. I think my highest grade in math was a C at the time. He tossed me the matchbook. Here, punk. I had never felt prouder. I didn't know till now that a pack can only hold 20 cigarettes. And to Jeff's credit, that was the last time I had ever seen him smoke one. After a while of chatting on the bench, 3 teens, around Jeff's age, walked past us. The taller, blonde-haired one stopped, taking a long look at Jeff. Wow, Dracula. Is this your first time outside? Jeff looked down. The boy continued. Damn, dude. Didn't mean to get you in your feels. It's just... damn. Do you have a disease or something? Back off, dude. I responded for Jeff. Something he hated me doing, but was necessary when he wouldn't defend himself. Calm down, man. I was just making conversation. Haven't seen you two around. Are you new? Yeah, we just moved here, I responded. Jeff kept his head down. However, I noticed the tightening of his pale jaws. I'm Randy. He extended his right hand to Jeff and gestured with his left hand to the other boys. This is my little brother Keith and my friend Troy. Randy wore a gray sleeveless shirt, tan shorts, and a greasy blonde mullet on his head. Keith, on the other hand, was a redhead, closer to my age, and had on a plain black t-shirt and light blue jeans. Troy was the biggest in size and weight, wearing a gray beanie in the summer, a wife beater, and gym shorts. They looked like your stereotypical Stephen King bullies, without the knives or guns. Jeff finally took Troy's hand, shaking it tightly. Jeff, and this is my brother, Liu. The boy smiled at us, not in the nice, welcome to the neighborhood way, but we're making up insults in our heads right now, kind of way. Damn, you've got some sweaty ass hands, Randy blurted out, brushing his hands against his shorts. He looked back at Troy and Keith. Seriously, feel this shit. He rubbed his hands across Keith's face, who laughed and acted disgusted. Jeff's hands were now clenched. Noticing his clenched hands, Keith uttered, "No offense," in a way that would be impossible to take no offense from. Troy spoke up. "Come on, guys, I have to get home soon." "To eat some donuts?" Keith replied. Jeff chuckled to himself at that comment, causing Troy to glare at him. Troy punched Keith in the shoulder. "Shut the fuck up. My dad needs me to mow before it rains tonight." Randy smiled at his friends. "Fine." He looked at both of us and began to walk away with his group. "See you around, Frosty." Jeff didn't say anything. Neither did I. But I saw the way he looked at them as they walked off. Like he was memorizing their names. Like he already knew what he wanted to do. Maybe if I had said something, things would have been different. When they were finally out of sight, Jeff spoke. "Fuck this town. I'm leaving and moving back to Cali." "Come on, Jeff, it's been 2 days. 2 days too many. You should come with me. We can live with Auntie Ruth, have our old friends, go to the skate park like we used to." "I hate Auntie Ruth. And how are we going back? On a plane? Neither of us have money for that." "Just shut up. I know you're right. Just let me dream. You sound like Mom and Phil." He never called Dad, Dad. I guess he wasn't technically his dad. He was my dad. Jeff's dad was long gone, leaving our mom the second she was pregnant with Jeff. However, Phil came along and helped our mom when she was pregnant. Jeff took his last name. Phil was even the one who named Jeff. I guess that still wasn't enough for him. Phil still wasn't his dad. I sometimes wondered if he was jealous of me. I was the youngest, the golden child. I didn't have albinism. I didn't get weird looks. I didn't have to feel ashamed. I had a mom. I had a dad. Weeks passed of the same boring routine. Empty boxes, meet neighbors, try to find something to do in this town. Settle on playing video games with Jeff. School started soon after, with me as a freshman and Jeff as a senior. Due to our age gap, we didn't have any classes together, and the only times I'd see him was in the hallway. People would call him Frosty, no doubt started by Randy, and he'd mostly keep to himself. For a couple weeks, I saw him with this red-headed girl named Jane. She seemed nice and didn't bully him like the rest. In my humble opinion, she definitely had a crush on Jeff. Who knew one cigarette away from death was a type? And I think he had a crush on her too. However, they stopped talking in the halls by October. No doubt Jeff's fault. And he was alone again. I felt bad for him, but I was 14. I had other friends other than my brother. It wasn't my job to babysit a 17-year-old. I still wish I would have done something. Maybe that could have saved him. But I doubt it. Every time we'd return from school, Jeff would go straight to his room, staying there till dinner. I used to call him Piggy, since I started to only see him when he was eating. Other times, he was in his room and I was with my friends. One time, when I entered his room, I saw him looking in the mirror. Not checking himself out, not popping a pimple. He just stared. Like he was trying to figure something out. Like he was daydreaming. I didn't see much of Randy, Keith, or Troy, but Jeff saw them every day at school. They wouldn't steal his lunch money or beat him up, but they do petty stuff like kicking his back, tripping him, or just calling him flat-out slurs. Basic high school boy stuff. There was nothing to do in BrookBend. The closest theater was 20 miles away. There were no arcades, no shopping centers, and no spectacles. So, Jeff became the spectacle. This pale, scrawny man. Look how he walks. Look how he talks. Why doesn't he have any friends? Mom and Dad hated this, but they seemed more mad at Jeff than mad for him. Can you at least try to make some friends? I heard my mom say once through the walls of my room. You don't think I try? No one wants to be friends with Vampire Boy, Jeff yelled back. Well, maybe if you had a more positive attitude, they would like you more. Positive attitude. Yeah. How's this for positivity? I don't know what he did, but it was enough for my dad to get involved. You do not do that to your mother. Shut up, Phil. Mom had come back in. You treat him with respect. Respect? Treat him with respect? After he made us leave Callie and our life behind? It was a mutual decision, my mom protested. Whatever. I heard the front door swing open. And wear some brighter clothes for Christ's sake. Mom got out before the door slammed shut behind Jeff. They did care about Jeff. I know they did. But they cared about their image more than either of us. In California, we were seen as white trash and dysfunctional. Now was their chance to create a perfect image, a representation of the American dream. A dream where Jeff didn't belong. They'd stage family photo shoots, the sole purpose of which was to put the pictures around the house for guests to admire. Jeff refused to wear the same nice clothes or smile as everyone else. So, they simply cut him out. Jeff was so far removed from the family dynamic that people would make fun of Jeff near me, not knowing we were brothers. Imagine their shock when the random blonde kid would stick up for the pale ghost. Our house was about 10 minutes away from the school, so instead of being on the bus list, we'd ride our bikes to and from school. It was some of the few times Jeff and I would hang out during the school year. Unfortunately, one afternoon, when we went to grab our bikes after school, they were missing. The locks that had held them in were picked, and we had to walk home that day. As we began our defeated walk home, Jeff asked, "Are you free tonight, Liu?" "Depends on what you're thinking of doing." Leaves crunched beneath my feet. "I don't know, I figured we could hit up the gas station." I laughed. The gas station? There's nothing better to do around here. Sure, but you're paying. He smiled. Deal. Later that night, we surfed through the Speedway slushy flavors like it was our first time tasting anything. Cherry Bomb, Tiger's Blood, Coca-Cola, Raspberry Rush, and Pina Colada. I still remember those flavors bursting in my mouth as a chill swept across my brain. We would mix and match all these different combinations till the workers realized we had no plans of paying for them. After getting kicked out of the Speedway and stealing some chips on our way out, we made our way along the railroad tracks. Jeff walked in the center while I tried my best to balance along the edge, constantly falling on top of Jeff at each failure. I can still smell that crisp autumn air filled with apple pie, pumpkins, and bonfires. We made our way to the family video, searching through cheesy action films and trying to sneak a peek at the adult section. We settled on Spider-Man 3. We hadn't seen the first two, but they weren't selling those. We actually paid for it and made our way back home. I remember the breeze on my face as Jeff started imitating Spider-Man's web slinging to keep me entertained, but I didn't need to be entertained. I was happy. Pure bliss. I think this was the last time I ever felt such happiness. While we walked across the burnt orange tracks, we ran into three familiar faces. Randy, Keith, and of course, Troy, riding their bikes along the wooded trail. We couldn't help but notice Randy and Keith's bikes. Etched into the sides read JW and LW. Those are our fucking bikes, Jeff yelled towards them. Randy noticed our presence and yelled from the trail. Oh fuck, it's Frosty and his brother. They rode up towards us, stopping in front of the tracks. What were you yelling about? Those are our bikes, I responded, noticing Jeff starting to freeze up. He did the typical clenching of his fists and jaws. It was as if he was imagining doing something, but never had the bandwidth to actually go through with it. The fat kid spoke up, smiling as he did. No, I think these are ours. I rebutted sharply. No, Randy and Keith's bikes, lard ass. Randy laughed at my comment. Really now? Jeff's knuckles turned red. Keith spoke up. We just found these laying around. Didn't know these were yours. They literally have our names carved on them. I gestured at the initials carved into the bikes. Randy stepped in front of his brother. Sorry, man. Maybe you should lock him up. I know y'all are new, but in this town, there's a sort of finders keepers rule. Jeff finally spoke, stammering around every word. They were locked up. You picked it. That's quite the allegation, Randy mocked. Just give us back our fucking bikes, Randy. Oh, so he can speak up. Keith turned to the rest of the group. Still, like Randy said, finders, keepers. I began to speak before being cut off by Randy. Come on, Keith. Let's give them back their bikes. Keith looked shocked at his older brother's response, but listened as they began to return our bikes. Randy gave me mine back with a nod, but when it came to Keith's turn to give Jeff back his bike, he pulled out a black butterfly knife and popped the front tire. Oops. Sorry, man. It slipped. He laughed with the other two boys. Jeff's knuckles were now crimson. Randy looked at Jeff, faking a sorrowful expression. Damn, that sucks. Not like you needed to lose any more pounds anyways. Right, Woods? Keith patted Jeff on the shoulder. I think that was it. That was the last of Jeff's restraint. Jeff punched Keith across the face, knocking Keith off balance and causing him to drop his knife. Before any of us could react, Jeff was on top of Keith, beating his face in repeatedly. Troy and Randy were frozen. Randy always played the tough guy, but he wasn't physically imposing in the slightest. He didn't get into fights at school. He'd even make fun of other kids. Jeff was just an easy target for him. But now, Jeff was fighting back. Randy couldn't fight back. He couldn't even defend his brother. I don't know why I didn't stop Jeff. Maybe I was scared too. Or maybe I wanted this. But Jeff took it too far. He beat Keith to a bloody pulp, breaking his nose and splitting his cheek. I swear I could smell the iron in the air. He wouldn't stop. Keith wasn't moving. Finally, Jeff took the butterfly knife lying on the ground and plunged it into Keith's shoulder. Suddenly we heard sirens in the distance. A neighbor probably filed a noise complaint. This broke all of us from our trance and I ran up to Jeff. I had to practically pull Jeff off Keith's unmoving body and we ran. We ran faster than I had ever ran. We didn't know where we were going, we just ran. The autumn breeze blowing against my face as we did. We finally stopped at some old pawn shop, catching our breaths in the empty parking lot. Jeff began laughing uncontrollably. A laugh that I had never heard before, but will forever take residency in the dark corners of my mind. Did you see that? Jeff exclaimed, brimming with excitement. Randy definitely pissed himself. I gave no response, and just stared at this man in front of me. The man who had just beaten a kid's face in and stabbed him in the shoulder. Jeff's glee was untamable. He continued, Those fuckers will never mess with us again. Right, Liu? I just stared at him. What else could I do? Noticing my silence, Jeff pressured on. Come on, Liu, that was crazy. I finally broke. Yeah, you were crazy. Jeff gave me a disheartened look. Liu? You just beat a kid to near death. Fuck, he probably is dead. And you're acting like... I don't know. What the fuck is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? They stole our bikes. They gave them back. Yeah, after popping my tire. Dad could have gotten you a new tire. Your dad wouldn't have done shit for me. Besides, they've been assholes to us since we got to this town. They don't deserve to get beaten like that for being assholes. Just because they treat you like that doesn't give you the right to... Jeff cuts me off. The right? To do what? Defend myself? They weren't attacking you. You don't understand, Liu. The shit I deal with on the daily because of people like them. He's right. I didn't. So yeah, I think I had the right to teach them a lesson. Do you hear yourself? Christ, Jeff. You probably killed a kid and you're calling that a lesson? We stayed silent the rest of the way home. The whole way, I stared at this man in front of me. Even after that argument, I could still catch him smiling to himself. Smiling about what he did. For the next couple days, I kept waiting. Waiting for the cops to break down our door and take Jeff away. I didn't want it to happen, but how could it not? He nearly killed a kid. I say nearly, since Keith was still alive and just spent some time in the emergency room. He had survived Jeff's wrath. Something few could say. The cops never came, and neither did Randy's gang. It was quiet for a week after the incident. While I spent my time worried about the arrival of the cops, Jeff spent his time in utter bliss. I had never seen him so happy. He'd come down for dinner, beaming and incredibly talkative. Mom and Dad figured that he had turned over a new leaf and accepted this new community. But I knew the truth. Don't get me wrong, I still loved my brother. How could I not? He had been my best friend my whole life. But I'd be lying if I said I never avoided being in a room alone with him. After the Keith incident, I couldn't look at my brother the same way, and, to be fair, he never quite looked the same. He was still the same old Jeff, but beneath that was something darker, something that I had seen in his eyes that night, something sinister. I remember walking into his room one day and catching him playing with a black butterfly knife. Keith's butterfly knife. He had kept it as if it was some sort of trophy. I can't believe you kept that. I was leaning against his doorway, holding the charger I had intended to return. What? The knife. What about it? It's Keith's knife. And? Not like he didn't steal anything of ours. That's not what I took a deep sigh. That knife is evidence. What if the cops come looking and find a knife with Keith's prints or blood or something? I don't care. I do. And you care, so I don't have to. Besides, it's a cool knife. He grinned as he twisted it around his fingers. I know now that it wasn't just a trophy. It was a reminder. A reminder of how he felt that night. The bliss. The high. I wish I knew that then. From November 3rd till the 7th, BrookBend had an event called Straw Fest. No, I'm not joking. This event consisted of alcohol, sodas, and really great fair fries. I didn't care much for the festival, but we did get a week off school for it, so that was pretty cool. On November 5th, while our parents were busy at the fairgrounds, Jeff had invited me to go see a movie with him. For the life of me, I could not remember what that movie was. I think the events of that night overshadowed the movie experience. I do remember the movie being cheesy and Jeff and I making fun of it on the way home. We walked everywhere now after the bike incident. Jeff was right. My dad never got him a new tire. However, it wasn't because he didn't care about Jeff. It was because he thought that if Jeff lost his bike, he would learn some valuable lesson. I don't think Jeff saw it that way though. It was late and Jeff and I decided to head home before we missed our curfew. On our way home, however, I felt a sharp push as I fell onto the gravel and was held down by two boys I had known from school. Jeff was then punched across the face by none other than Randy. I guess he had grown some balls after the Keith incident. Jeff was knocked back and then punched again and again and again and again until he was on the ground, bleeding out of his nose. Randy then kicked and stomped him repeatedly. As he kicked, he yelled things like, "You fucking freak," and "This is for my brother," and other stuff along those lines. I tried to fight against my restraints, but the boys were much bigger than me and held me down. I just had to watch as my brother got the shit beat out of him. Randy eventually stopped once Troy grabbed his shoulder, as if to say, "That's enough." Unlike Jeff, they knew when to stop. Randy spoke down to Jeff, who struggled to get off from the ground. "If you touch my brother again, I will fucking kill you. Got that?" Jeff didn't speak, so Randy kicked him in the stomach once more. "I said, got that, freak?" He spat on Jeff and began to walk away. Just then, Jeff began to laugh. It was that same laugh he did right after beating up Keith. That same grotesque laugh that made my skin begin to crawl. He laughed harder and harder till it was an uncontrollable mess. Randy turned back around. "What the fuck are you laughing at, freak?" Jeff kept laughing. Randy kicked Jeff's head. "What's so funny?" Jeff turned to face him. his voice quivering with euphoria. It's just that. You were such a pussy. Watching as I beat your brother's face in. And now you want to act all tough? Jeff kept laughing. I bet you pissed yourself when I slid that knife into his shoulder. I bet you still see it in your dreams. Do you wet your bed when that happens, Randy? I bet you do. Jeff kept laughing to the point where he was coughing. Is that funny, you freak? Randy began to wear a sadistic smile. I'll show you something funny. Give me your knife. He looked at Troy. Troy took a step back. Why do you... Give me your knife, Troy. Troy hesitantly gave Randy his knife. Now hold him down. Troy hesitated once more. Now? Troy went over and held the cackling Jeff down. Since you like to smile so damn much. Randy put his blade into Jeff's mouth, widening his smile at the edge of Jeff's lips. Blood filled Jeff's mouth as Randy carried out his disfigurement. But Jeff couldn't stop laughing. The blood gurgled in the back of his throat as he struggled to make room for his laughter. The boys holding me down loosened their grip at the sight. I could escape and save Jeff. But I was frozen like the rest. Frozen as this monster took shape. After Randy was pleased with himself, he and the other boys left us on the ground. Jeff was covered in his own blood and had finally run out of laughter. Instead, he laid on the ground next to me, smiling. That terrible, permanent smile. We got home an hour later to our mom worried sick and our dad already asleep. After seeing Jeff's mangled face, her face turned white and immediately asked what had happened. The bleeding had finally stopped and, worried that talking would start it again, I spoke for the both of us. I told her what had happened. I told her how we were jumped. I told her that Jeff was beaten to a pulp. I told her about how it was Randy who cut up his face. She tried to clean up Jeff's face and patched up the best she could. Randy who? Randy Haymitch, I replied. My mother looked down, then continued patching up Jeff. Afterwards, she sent us to bed with a simple, "Good night, boys. Please try to stay out of any more trouble." Thrown off by her comment, I responded, "Is that it? Aren't you gonna call the cops or something? File a report? Press charges?" She held her head down and weakly said, "That's not the Woods family way. Besides, I'm sure Jeff learned a valuable lesson. Right, Jeff?" Jeff quietly looked at himself in his bedroom mirror. "A lesson? Randy Haymitch mangled his face. I'm not fighting tonight, Liu. Your dad and I had a rough night. We'll talk about this more in the morning." She went into her room before I had time to gather my thoughts. Suddenly, Jeff spoke. "They're never gonna do anything, Liu." His voice gave me chills. The last time he had made a noise, it was that disgusting maniacal laughter. Now, he seemed like typical Jeff. "What?" Mom and Phil. "They're never gonna do anything. Randy's dad is Mr. Haymitch. Phil's boss. Half the town's boss." I don't know about Jeff, but I did learn a valuable lesson that night. Unlike California and small towns, someone like Randy's dad didn't just own a successful business. He owned the town. He supplied the paychecks for most of the town, and the rest of the population benefited from the prosperity. To go after his son would be to go after him. To go after him would be to go after the town. To go after the town would be to permanently ruin your image. Something our parents could not afford. That's probably why the cops never came for Jeff. Randy probably told his dad to let him handle it, or more likely, Randy's dad made Randy handle it as a way to make him a man, or whatever rich guys want out of their sons. For the next couple days, I didn't see Jeff at all. Our parents made me live with Auntie Ruth, who had gotten a hotel outside of town to see us, in hopes that separating Jeff and I would make us less likely to get into trouble. I worried about him those days. He had just gone through something tragic, and now he had to deal with it without his brother. But a part of me was also relieved. I loved Jeff, but After seeing him that night, a part of me was scared to sleep in the same household as him. Auntie Ruth was how she always was, cooking terrible food, spitting in my face when she talked, and smoking in the hotel room despite it being prohibited. She took me thrift shopping one day. Sounds fun, but I still had to pay for myself, so it was less fun. And I decided to get something for Jeff. However, the only thing I could find that fit Jeff were a bunch of plain hoodies. He already had a black one, the brown one had a hole in it, and the green one smelled like armpits. White one it is. Auntie Ruth returned me home on November 11th, and I walked into my mom talking to the Haymitches and my dad making some drinks for everyone. I tried to go straight upstairs, but my mom caught me and invited me to join the conversation in the kitchen. "You must be Liu," the burly man, who I assumed was Randy's dad, said to me. "Yep," I awkwardly replied. My mom chimed in. "We were just talking about you, Jeff, Randy, and Keith." My heart started to beat faster at my mom's comment, and as Mr. Haymitch opened his mouth. "I would like to apologize for any discretions that my two sons committed towards you and your brother. I gave them a stern talking to, and they learned their lessons." He scratched his orange beard. "However, I hope that you understand that by harming Keith like that, Jeff should have expected the consequences. I know it sounds harsh, but that's life, son." I hated that he called me son. He continued, "Your parents are lovely and understanding people. I'm sure you are the same way. So, have we come to an understanding?" Randy and Keith were nowhere to be found, and Mrs. Haymitch never said a word during the entire conversation. Wanting to escape this awkward back and forth, I simply nodded my head. "Great!" my mom exclaimed, breaking the unneeded tension. "You're free to go now, honey." Honey? My mom never called me honey. And what were the Haymitches doing here? Their sons had hurt my brother, and now they are insinuating that he deserved it? And my parents are agreeing with them? Had they talked to Jeff before I got here? What did they tell him? What did he say to them? I had all these questions I wanted to ask Jeff, but all of them left my head the second I entered his room. There was Jeff, standing in the corner of his room, looking in the mirror, like he had so many times before. What did he see? What did he think when he saw himself? "Jeff?" I interrupted his trance, and he turned to face me. His expression widened. "Liu!" I never got used to the way his mouth moved now. The widened grin permanently displayed on his face. Every time he opened his mouth, a chill ran throughout my body. After exclaiming my name, he ran up and hugged me as if he hadn't seen me in years. I wrapped my hands around him before breaking free from his tight embrace. I got you something." I reached into my bag and pulled out a white hoodie. "Just figured you needed some new clothes, and Mom always said you needed some brighter colors," I joked. Jeff let out a light chuckle and immediately put on the white hoodie over his black sleeveless shirt. It fit him like a glove. It was as if he was meant to wear it, with those old black ripped jeans and Converse that he refused to take off inside the house. "Thanks, Liu. So, how have you been?" "Shit. Been crammed in this room ever since you've been gone. Mom and Phil won't even let me leave the house." "That sucks, man. I guess they're just trying their best to stop us from making things worse for them." I joked again, trying to lighten the mood. At the time, I believed that they didn't let Jeff leave as a punishment for his behavior. But now, I believe it was because they didn't want people seeing Jeff's new face. They didn't want people to see another imperfection in their family. And Jeff was a walking imperfection. "Trying their best," Jeff scoffed. "They took you away from me, Liu. I can never forgive them for that." Attempting to ignore the harsh comment, I continued. "Your face is looking better." I lied. "No, it doesn't." His response was quiet, but sharp. "Yeah, sorry, man." "Don't be. Randy gave me a gift." He looked back into the mirror as his grin widened. "Now I never have to stop smiling." I hardly slept that night. I lit a match from the matchbook given to me by Jeff. I waited for it to burn down to my fingertip, put it out, then start another one. I thought about Jeff. His carved smile, his laugh, the way he talked to Randy, the way he nearly killed Keith. I thought about my parents, how concerned they were with their American dream, how they took the side of the kid who disfigured their son, the son they tried so hard to cover up. I thought about BrookBend, this suffocating town that we were forced to move to, a town that treated my brother like dirt. I thought about all of this. I thought about it all as I laid down to sleep, forgetting to say goodnight to my parents, not knowing that I would regret that for years to come. I woke up to my door open and the smell of gasoline permeating the air. The clock on my wall read 11:12 p.m. Beneath the clock stood a figure. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness and my grogginess, I began to recognize the figure. Jeff? I rubbed my eyes, the crust falling from my eyelids. Shh. You'll wake Mom and Phil. Just go to sleep, Liu. What are you doing, Jeff? I sat up against the wall. I could now see my parents' room across the hall. I saw red liquid around the room and covering my parents' bodies. My dad's body was riddled with holes and covered in the viscous liquid. My mother's throat was slit as her hand twitched with each spew of blood. My voice was caught in my throat. This wasn't real. This had to be a nightmare. I would wake up soon. I still sometimes expect to wake up. I finally found my voice and screamed, "What the fuck did you do?" I said, "Go to sleep." He was still standing in the corner of my room, like a sleep paralysis demon. "What the fuck did you do, Jeff?" "They took me from you, Liu. They had to go." All I could do was repeat myself. "What the fuck? What the fuck?" I escaped my bed and backed up to the other side of the room. We don't have to be afraid anymore, Liu. We never have to leave each other again. We can move back to Cali, have our old life. I couldn't speak. I wanted to run towards the door, but he was next to it. Jeff was always faster. I couldn't breathe. Jeff continued, "What's wrong, Liu? Isn't this what we always needed? To leave it all behind? You just need to light the fire and we can leave it all behind. I got it all ready for you." He tossed me the matchbook that was previously on my bed. It made me sick how close he had to get to me while I was sleeping. I caught the matchbook out of instinct. Just light the match. I couldn't look away from my parents' bedroom. They were dead. They were actually dead. I looked back at this thing in front of me. My eyes had fully adjusted and I could make out the blood stains on the white hoodie. The blood around his face, the blood in his hair, his smile, that sick, twisted smile. But most importantly, his eyes. Eyes that couldn't belong to a man. The eyes of a predator stalking its prey. I finally broke out of my frozen state. "You fucking monster!" Those words visibly shook Jeff to his core. "Monster?" His eyes widened before sharpening into some form of scowl. "Monster? I'm the monster?" I ran for the door, but Jeff grabbed me and pushed me past my bed. I stumbled but stayed upright. Jeff pulled that damn butterfly knife. "You're just like Mom and Phil," he yelled before running at me with the knife. I did the first thing that came to mind. I struck a match from the matchbook given to me a lifetime ago and hurled it towards him. His wool hoodie was set ablaze and he screamed. That ear-piercing scream. He patted himself down, setting the gas on fire in his panic. The fire spread quickly through the house and I ran for the door once more. Jeff tackled me into our parents' room. I collapsed into my father's pool of blood. I tried to get up but slipped back down. Jeff tugging at the end of my shirt. He was on top of me now. His hoodie singed, no longer ablaze. The fire encompassed us. He held his left hand around my neck while raising a knife in his right. This couldn't be our brother. Those eyes weren't his. They were demons. The smile that tugged on his face was unnatural and dripped with blood as his wound tore further. This monster. It couldn't be our best friend. I refused to believe it, even in these final moments. The knife plunged into my side. I could feel the iron fill my mouth as the wind was knocked out of my lungs. Jeff screamed, "Just go to sleep." I turned my head and saw the lifeless bodies of my family. I looked up and saw Jeff. To me, he was just as dead as my parents. This was a demon who had taken my brother's body. A demon that had killed my family. A demon I couldn't let take me. As Jeff removed his knife and prepared for another plunge, I found this invisible strength and punched him across the face. He was knocked off me, and, with the adrenaline pumping through my veins, I ran past the growing fire, down the stairs, and towards the front door. I had to escape. I had to live. For my father, for my mother, for Jeff. The demon followed closely behind, laughing that terrible laugh. It followed me down the stairs, now engulfed in flames. The second I hopped off the stairs, they collapsed, taking the demon into its burning embrace, where it belonged. I ran through the front door, coughing up smoke and blood. My adrenaline faded and my side began to ache. Blood soaked through my shirt and I was losing it fast. Too fast. I collapsed onto the moist grass as my vision began to fade. I heard sirens in the distance and thought, this is it. The demon was back in hell. Maybe, on the other side, I would see my brother again. I remember waking up in a hospital outside of town. My auntie Ruth was the only person to visit me. She was the last of my family, and once I was approved to leave, I lived with her in California until I was 18. It wasn't until after I left the hospital that I learned that Jeff's body was never found. I saw him engulfed in the flames. No man could survive that. But the thing that I saw that night wasn't a man. Still, I cling to the thought that he had died. Maybe he was so burnt that there wasn't any body left to find. Maybe he ran away but succumbed to his wounds elsewhere. I clinged to those thoughts. That was before the killing started. December 1st, 2008. Randy and Keith Hamich were found murdered in their home. Their window lock was broken while their parents were out with friends. Randy was stabbed 27 times in the chest and once between his eyes. Keith was gutted and his eyes were gouged out. December 15th, 2008. Troy Polmack was murdered along with his parents and two younger sisters. Troy was stabbed in the gut 12 times and his throat was slit. His sisters were both found with their hands broken and stabbed in the chest twice. Their parents had their throats slit and tongues cut off, assumed to be post-mortem. It was clear that he started to have more fun with it. December 25th, 2008. Jonathan Hamich's, Randy's father, head was found in a gift addressed to his wife. She opened it thinking it was a gift from her husband. This was also when a picture was caught on the Hamich family security system. That God-forsaken photo. It was Jeff. He was alive. It was confirmed now. He stared into the camera tauntingly. I think it was meant for me. He wanted me to know that he was still out there. He wanted me to know that he lived outside my nightmares. January 30th, 2009. After claiming full ownership of her husband's company, Elizabeth Hamish was found gutted and hanged on her front porch. February 14th, 2009. The Richardson family fire. After stopping the fire, the body of Bruce Richardson was found dead, tied to a chair, and missing his left ring finger. His daughter, Jane Richardson, is missing and presumed dead. April 17th, 2009. No one was killed, however the BrookBend drug mart was robbed. Missing inventory included a needle, sedatives, and 3 first aid kits. Jeff was seen on the cameras. April 18th, 2009. Sheriff Bradley Jones and his wife Melissa Jones were found dead. Melissa's throat was simply slit, however Bradley was found with his lips and eyelids sewn shut and his ears cut off. This was believed to be done while he was still alive but heavily sedated. He was stabbed twice in the side and 3 times in the chest, killing him. This was initially believed to be Jeff's last killing. September 3rd, 2010. The killings start again with the death of Jeremiah Tolsing and his son Evan. Jeremiah was an English teacher at BrookBend High School. He was stabbed in the head, through his left ear, and with his son found tied down and stabbed in the face 5 times. November 8th, 2010. Eric and Bethany Prescott were found by police after Bethany had called the cops about a home invasion. Eric's throat was slit and he was pronounced dead on the scene. Bethany was taken to the hospital with 12 stab wounds, but lost too much blood and died shortly thereafter. March 18th, 2019. Today. It's been nearly 9 years since Jeff's last murder. He has become a local legend in BrookBend, a campfire tale. Locals call him Jeff the Killer, and he'll kill you if you misbehave or some basic schlock like that. He's become a boogeyman. More myth than man. Hell, even I'm starting to believe it. Some believe that Jeff is dead. That he finally croaked or some redneck got lucky and killed the fucker. But I know better. He's not dead, and the killings haven't actually stopped. I think he's waiting. He's killed nearly everyone associated with his past life and then some. Everyone but me. I'm the one who got away. The only one he couldn't kill. I think that enrages him. I think he wants me to return to BrookBend. Maybe he'll grow tired of the wait and track me down, killing me in my sleep. For years I tried believing that my brother was dead. That this thing wasn't him. But deep down, I know that's not the truth. A monster like this couldn't have been created. I can blame the bullies, I can blame the town, I can blame my parents, I can even blame myself. But I think back to how he'd clench his fists. I think back to how he'd look at himself in the mirror. He wasn't daydreaming. He wasn't planning. He was festering. This thing inside of him was festering, and he could see it when he looked at himself. He knew what he was. It was always Jeff. This thing was always lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for an excuse to come out. His circumstances gave it an excuse. But it would have always come out eventually. He was always the boogeyman, the demon, the monster. My monster.